So it looks like Manchester United have turned Carlos Baleba's head, but will that be enough to complete the move? Fabrizio Romano has also given some updates on the latest in regards to Baleba to Manchester United. This is the dream signing, and look, the move is on. It's got real, but it is difficult to do. Chelsea playing games with Garnacho, and we need Garnacho sold to do this Baleba deal. Hojlund exit update. Will he leave? Will he stay? Or will he go? Harry Amass to go out on loan and more. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, update, and roundup show, where I round up all the latest Manchester United news in the next 10 minutes for you guys. This is a very, very late night roundup. I feel like this is going to go out at like 11 p.m. So, I do apologise, but it's been a busy day. I was watching the Chelsea game. And look, I'm going to give you all the news. Now, we're going to start with Carlos Baleba because, look, Sesko is done. Sesko is official. Sesko is going to be announced tomorrow. We'll talk a few details on that. And I still think it's mad that we got Sesko despite bidding less than Newcastle and apparently offering less wages. He's going to be announced in the match tomorrow. But we're going to talk about Baleba because Romano has come out and said that United are very much in contact with Carlos Baleba's agents. There's contact going on. So that's interesting. United are pushing on the player side. And we know with the Mbeumo deal, we know with the Cunha deal, we know with the Sesko deal, we were very much pushing with the player first and talking with the player and his agent first. Once we got the player wants to come, going to push for the move, we went in. Dean Jones, who's a good source of information, said, Manchester United believe their interest has turned Carlos Baleba's head. The same thing happened with Cunha and Mbeumo, but striking a deal with Brighton won't be easy. We've turned Baleba's head. Baleba wants the move. Baleba's sort of given the green light. It's come out from many people in the last few days. He wants the move. He wants Manchester United. But is that going to be enough? Because Baleba is going to... If Baleba forces a move to Man United, that doesn't necessarily mean he will get the move because he's on £12.5 grand a week. Brighton are going to be like, well, look, like we don't need to sell you for cheap. Your wages do not cost us a thing. So it would be difficult for him to even force a move for United or anything like that. But if the player wants the move and I wouldn't say like acts up, I don't like acting up, but sort of puts pressure on the club to sell him, there's a price tag there. The price tag is 100 million. I think that is probably what Brighton will want, and I don't know if they will budge below 100 million. I think United, if they sell Garnacho and they do some good sales, potentially they could push, see if they can get maybe 90 million, see if they can get good installments. But let's talk about more details on this. Because in response to this, CC Transfers, who gets a lot of inside information, one of the good, like, sort of ITK accounts, one of the good accounts, but gets inside information, posted this, which he got yesterday. Right, so what I've been told, for a lot of people, this has come out of the blue. We've known about this interest for a good while now. He's keen, in terms of Carlos Baleba. Pretty damn keen, actually. Carlos Baleba is pretty damn clean. United know they have to get close to, if not break our record transfer, we'd have to make a record bid. To do a deal for Carlos Baleba, we'd have to make a record-breaking bid. As of right now, I can't say the deal will happen. There's a lot of moving parts and not a load of time. But again, it feels like the handbrake is off, or else sales are defo lined up. But he's saying Carlos Baleba wants Manchester United. He wants Manchester United, but United know this could be, and this could take, a record-breaking bid to do a deal. A record-breaking bid. And while United know that, there's a lot of things going on, we may have some sales. But I like the part he goes really keen. Baleba's really keen. Head's been turned. That is what you want to hear. And then we've got updates on Romano. He said Amorim is very keen on Carlos Baleba. Before I get to the next part, of course Amorim is very keen on Carlos Baleba. Carlos Baleba, and me and Minna were talking about it today, and I think Minna's got a show with me coming out tomorrow morning, so go check out Minna's channel. But we were saying Carlos Baleba, and I was talking about a Brighton fan that messaged me, and we're talking about Carlos Baleba, is defensively, like in our third, the closest thing to Yaya Toure. He is a physical tank. He's a physical beast. There's talk about Adam Wharton being a Carlos Baleba alternative. We're going to get into that news. Adam Wharton on the ball is everything we want. Adam Wharton's got long legs. He can cover ground. But we're talking physical, and Amorim wants physical. That's a big word. He keeps demanding physical. Carlos Baleba is perfect. He is Amorim's dream target. He is the guy that we should be doing everything for. Honestly. Romano said, Manchester United are maintaining contact with the agents of Carlos Baleba. At the moment, the deal is still really complicated. I have more confidence this deal could happen, but it's very complicated. Brighton have no intention to sell, would require a really big fee, potentially record-breaking bid needed from Manchester United to do that. United made their move, they're calm. Now, Romano's saying United are calm. United are calm because they know the player wants to move. They know the player's keen on the move. United are calm. They're going to look at some sales. They're going to look at the possibility of doing this. They know it's going to take a lot of money. We knew going in for Baleba, it was going to be at least 70 million, probably more because it's just Brighton. We wouldn't have inquired about Baleba if we didn't have this kind of money to potentially spend. United are calm. Apparently, we have alternatives though. So IndyCala is the guy that sort of was a bit of a joke on this app, but then broke the Carlos Baleba story and David Ornstein gave him credit for. So now all of a sudden, he's a trusted source. And he is saying, if Brighton don't lower the fee for Carlos Baleba to something reasonable, United are ready to pivot to the next target. United are looking at availability of Adam Wharton. I don't think Adam Wharton is going to be much cheaper than Carlos Baleba. Maybe 10 million cheaper. And for me, I'd rather pay the extra 10 million for Baleba. Adam Wharton's great. Adam Wharton's great on the ball, but if I'm talking intensity, we're talking physically, Baleba. Wharton's got a little bit of the English tax. Wharton is great. Wharton is fantastic, but he's got a bit of the English tax. Baleba is better. And look, I don't know if United are just putting it out there to let to let Brighton know they have alternatives. I think negotiation tactics aren't going to work. Brighton, they don't want to sell him. I like Wharton. I'd be happy if we got Wharton, but Baleba. Anyway, let's continue on into other news because to do Baleba, we're going to need sales. Chelsea believe they will comfortably sign Garnacho for less than 50 million, which is Manchester United's asking price. Chelsea are ready to wait until the last few days of the window to make this happen. We need to tell Garnacho, we're not selling you for less than 50 million. Let Chelsea know that, and you can stay in the reserves next season if they don't bid that. We don't care, you're not on high wages. Tell Garnacho, you need to find a club that will pay 50 million for you. You've turned down every club but Chelsea, and they're not going to pay 50 million for you. We're not going to accept it because you've rejected everyone else. Find the club. We should be brutal with Garnacho and say, well, just find a club that will pay 50 million for you. Just because you've rejected Chelsea, it's not just because you've rejected everyone but Chelsea, not our problem. If Chelsea offer 40 million, we're not going to accept it because you've rejected everyone else. If Chelsea don't pay 50 million for you, go to Villa, go to Bayer Leverkusen, go begging them. We aren't selling you for less than 50 million because that's a joke. You're not going to use much of our wages. This is a World Cup year. You want out. You're not going to play. You're not going to get the World Cup squad if you don't leave. You know clubs will pay 50 million for you. You know Chelsea are taking the mick. We'll say that. Chelsea obviously went in for Jadon Sancho deadline day and they got him on such a good loan deal. The problem with Chelsea is they knew that they left it to deadline day for Jadon Sancho. They got a loan with an obligation to buy that had a 5 million break clause in. Chelsea got such a good deal with Jadon Sancho. If he succeeded, they'd only buy him for 25 million. Which they tried to buy him, he wouldn't agree to lower wages. But if he didn't succeed, they could send him back for 5 million. So Chelsea, if you wait till deadline day with Man United, they'll give you a good deal. That's what we gave them. We gave them a break clause in an obligation to buy. We thought we got rid of Sancho, obligation to buy, and there was a break clause there. Like, seriously. So, of course, they're going to wait to the end of the window and think, oh, can we get Garnacho on the cheap? Be stern. Yes, Sesko is official. He's done all his media duties. He's officially a Red. Boom! Benjamin Sesko completed his move to United and is actually at the Carrington for the opening, but will be hidden from that. And apparently Manchester United's media team has been working like crazy because the announcement is tomorrow and they've probably got loads to post. But Benjamin Sesko has completed his move to United, is now at Carrington, is the new first team training centre, and he's going to be announced at the stadium tomorrow. A little bit like Hojlund 2 years ago when people are like, oh, young striker, announced at the stadium, 70 million fee. People are like comparing him to Hojlund. I've compared him to Hojlund in the sense of he's not as ready-made as a Mateta or Watkins. He's not Premier League proven. You don't know what you'll get. But the Benjamin Sesko we're signing now is much further along in his development than the Hojlund we signed 2 years ago. So do remember that. Now, talking of Hojlund, Romano said that United have opened the door for a loan move for Hojlund, but the striker still insists on staying. AC Milan are in contract. Simon Stone has confirmed this. English sources have confirmed this. Italian sources broke the news earlier, which I covered in my live stream. AC Milan are in contact with Hojlund and his agent. They've offered around 6 million and covering his full salary to Manchester United. So they've offered 5 million up front and full salary to be covered and a 40 million option to buy. United are ready to do the deal. Hojlund insists on staying and fighting for his place. If it's an obligation to buy for Hojlund, you force him out. If it's an option to buy for Hojlund, I'm not too bothered if he stays, because if we're going to get rid of Hojlund, I kind of want money, not just making 6 million off not having him for a year. Maybe he can push Sesko. But that was said. And then last but not least, Harry Amass is set to go out on loan. Diego Leon coming in. Harry Amass was dropped from the tour. The plan is for him to go out on loan, and he is being targeted by Sheffield Wednesday. So hopefully a loan move goes through for him. Anyway, that's your latest Manchester United news rounded up in 10 minutes. Please get Baleba. Let me know your thoughts. Bye.